following podcast is recorded and produced by the Podcast Precinct in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com. The Podcast Precinct. Consistency, creativity, culture.
Andrew, you told me that you were just scrolling through Instagram and you were just getting really bored.
You know what I was? It's just that simple scrolling. Didn't really have anything to do, so just scroll all the way through. And then, I don't know, something just hit me that I just want to know more interesting facts about history, in world history and history in America, but I just don't know where to find fun, interesting facts about it.
Andrew, you are in such luck because I just discovered this new Instagram page and it is called The Amazing History with Harold. So make sure you go check that out on Instagram. This guy, Harold Peebles, is like a historian apparently, and he will post just these great, he'll take one thing, like the first one that he did was about George Washington, and he'll just tell you all these amazing, obviously completely true, not made up whatsoever for comedic purposes, facts about these different things in history, American history, or just a world history, pop culture history. Oh, man, it's a fun follow, Andrew. So I encourage you to go to The Amazing History with Harold. Check it out wherever you get your Instagrams.
That is so awesome. Now I can learn fun, interesting facts while scrolling through Instagram. I can't thank you enough, Johnny.
You're welcome. And make sure you tell your friends about this, and you'll be the smartest kid at the ball when you bring up these amazing facts about our history.
I wanna be like Mike.
Me too.
I was gonna say, Johnny, do you ever want to be like Mike?
Every day. Every dadgum. Sorry for my language. Day.
I've heard worse. I listened to panel discussion.
Yeah, go check. No, actually, I don't want to send anybody that way. I want people to still respect me as much as they do.
Well,
yeah, Andrew. Who doesn't want to be like Mike? Especially our generation growing up, you know?
I think I was the only kid because he messed with Larry Bird.
Oh, yeah. Unless you're a Celtics fan or a Pistons fan. Yeah.
Or a Knicks fan. You kind of...
Yeah.
You kind of... But I have to say, I respect the crap out of Michael Jordan. He was everywhere growing up.
Oh, yeah.
Even in a cartoon with one of my favorite childhood heroes, Bo Jackson, and that other guy, Wayne Gretzky. But they were...
Never heard of him. Yeah.
They were pro stars.
They sure were. Had his own movie.
Yes.
You know, man, what hasn't this guy do? And the best thing about Michael Jordan is that he feels the need to constantly let you know that he was good.
Yes. And did you know he was in a McDonald's training video?
Oh, wow. That's nice.
I'll have to send that to you.
Yeah, please do.
Fascination,
because he's known for how good his acting is. That's for sure. Yeah.
You know, I have a weird fascination with old school training videos.
Yes. Yeah. They're very fun. Go check out the Patreon, the Nostalgia Funhouse Patreon, for some fun stuff on that. But yeah, so Andrew, what do we speaking of Michael Jordan,
we're not,
you know, no player can win all those championships, and he won 6 of them, can win all those championships by himself.
Yes, because we're not, like you alluded to, we're not talking about Michael Jordan today. Michael Jordan, you take a back seat.
Yeah.
We are,
you know what? We're not even going to talk about Scottie Pippen.
No. And Dennis Rodman. Who are those guys?
Yeah, we're not even talking about Dennis Rodman.
No. You 3 guys, you take a back seat.
Yeah. You get talked about enough.
Yes. You take a back seat. Let's talk about Jordan's supporting cast. And you guys are probably thinking, are they doing this to give out the Jordan is a GOAT conversation and into all that stuff? Well, LeBron did this. No, we just want to talk about those lesser known players from those Bulls team.
You know, when you're a kid and you're getting a brand new pack of basketball cards and you're flipping through them hoping for Michael Jordan, and you see that Bulls logo and you get really excited and you pull it out and it's a Ron Harper, you know, that's all the fun there. Poor Ron Harper. I pulled so many Ron Harper cards trying to get Michael Jordan cards. And I like Ron Harper, and we will talk about Ron Harper because he's actually a really good player. But yeah, it was just always fun when that happens.
Or the other thing too is when you don't want to substitute out Michael Jordan in a video game, you know.
Yeah.
get to see the rosters, and you're like,
or number 23, because he wouldn't give his name until
oh yeah,
until later. But it was obvious who that player was supposed to
wink,
be.
wink on the Michael.
Yeah.
And did he ever? I think he might have appeared in an NBA Jam, or there was a code for him in one.
Actually, and this is a little bit of my Richard Bliss nerd knowledge here.
Break it down.
The original NBA Jam did not have Michael Jordan. However, the company behind the NBA Jam sent Michael Jordan his very own cabinet, and on that particular one, he could play as Michael Jordan.
Nice. Of course, you had to do that for Michael Jordan.
Yeah, yes.
But like we said, we are talking about the lesser known teammates. I mean, some of these guys you probably have heard of, depending on your knowledge of 80s, 90s Bulls or your basketball knowledge there.
Yeah, yeah.
So some of these guys, you'd be like, oh, I know who that is. But we want to talk about the lesser known supporting cast, because there's been some interesting names and players that have played with Michael Jordan.
And I even think some of these players are probably well known from other things besides being a Jordan teammate. I mean, let's first talk about Steve Kerr.
Okay.
So let's bring up Steve Kerr. He was a point guard, a shooter, a very good shooter.
Yeah.
Famously, Michael Jordan punched him in the face.
Well, you have to sometimes.
Yes. Oh, by the way, it's also one of my favorite things. There's a whole thing on YouTube where you can find about Jordan's teammates talking about Jordan, and almost all of them have to kind of have a little disclaimer saying, "Yeah, I mean, he was kind of a jerk, but
you won 6 rings."
Yeah, I mean, it's a give and take, I guess. And when I say take, I mean getting punched in the face, because that's what happened to Steve Kerr. He got punched in the face, but somehow that earned his respect from Michael Jordan, because that's what you got to do: get punched in the dadgum face. But I think Steve Kerr is obviously today better known as the Warriors head coach, because he's actually won titles with them. I think he has 9 rings. No, he wasn't in the original trilogy of the Bulls, so he has 6 rings would be my guess.
If you've ever noticed between those two 90s teams, it's different names, but same type of player.
Yes.
So what I see.
So for every John Paxson, there's a Steve Kerr. Yes.
Yeah. That's where they like
for every winning Bill Winnington, there's a Luke Longley. Yeah.
Can't forget about my man Will Purdue.
Oh yeah, Will Purdue. You're right. But so Steve Kerr, a very, very good player. I think the one thing that I really find fascinating about him, and they do allude to this on that Last Dance documentary, is the whole story about his dad. Is heartbreaking and really, man, I don't know why that in itself doesn't have a documentary about it. You know, where his dad was, I forgot the country in Africa, but his dad was like a big name over there, and he ended up getting killed, assassinated over there. It's really sad stuff. Oh, side note, I'm sorry to go on this diatribe, but I've been meaning to bring this up to you, Andrew. Did you know, and this is wrestling related, of course, we got to have a wrestling part pumped in here.
Hey,
did you know that did you know that Jerry the King Lawler, when he was a commentator for Monday Night Raw, he's obviously a Tennessee guy, right? Very famously a Tennessee guy. There was a plot that was discovered, and that the Tennessee police, or there's the Memphis police, one or the other, had actually, there's just some of them in that force, along with this lady he was kind of seeing, have plotted together to break into his home and steal his stuff. But if he happened to be there, they have planned to kill him.
What?
Yes. I don't know how this doesn't get talked about more. I had never heard of this until like a week ago, and I don't know why I kept forgetting to bring it up to you, and I kept wanting to talk to you about it. But yeah, so that's true. Yeah, that was a true thing that happened. A lot of wild things in sports. We'll have to do an episode on that. Just on Jerry the King Lawler, what a wild career. So Steve Kerr, I think a very underrated shooter. When people are talking about shooters in the NBA, he doesn't get mentioned a lot, but he was quite good.
Yes. He played a total of 299 games with Michael Jordan.
Yeah, and only had to get punched once.
That's all you need.
Yeah, just one good punch in the face.
He actually, this is 9-time champion, because he actually won 4 championships in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Then he went on to the Spurs.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, yes.
Not a big point scorer there. His highest point total in Chicago under the Michael Jordan winning out of the second three-peat, he averaged 8.4 points a game.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't needed for bulk scoring. I mean, obviously on that team, what he was needed for is moving around, getting open, and being open for I mean, he famously hit a really important shot for the Bulls in that championship run. So,
I would like to stick with the guard route on this.
all right, who do you want to talk about next?
Can we talk about BJ Armstrong? Because
A Charlotte Hornets fan over here. We most certainly can.
I I had a friend growing up. Shout out to Ron Laster if you're out there. My friend Ron loved BJ Armstrong growing up to the point where we would trade constantly with cards because he wanted my BJ Armstrong trading cards. And I honestly didn't know his nickname was the kid until today.
I didn't know that either. I have never heard him being referred to as that.
Yes, but Mr.
I just remember when I got old enough to learn what some things were that his name was funny to me because I was immature.
Oh, jeez. He's
Not of his fault, but yeah.
He's actually fifth on the Jordan games playing list with 422 overall games. That's regular season and playoffs.
Another really good shooter as well, by the way.
Yes, this is where when you're talking about Steve Kerr, John Paxson, I was like, they're all just pretty much the same person.
Another point guard who could shoot, basically. Yeah. A really good player, very solid. He got to play with the Hornets for a little bit too. Famously, they met the Bulls in the playoffs. And of course, Jordan took that personally, like he does everything.
He was actually an all-star in 93, 94.
Oh man,
Mr. BJ Armstrong, he lit it up.
that'll be another fun episode we should do. Like people you didn't know who were all stars, who had an all-star season. There's always like one random one, right?
Yeah,
Al Horford. Yeah.
Sorry, you're a Hornets fan, but Jamal McGlure.
Hey man, you don't you take his name in vain, okay?
But this was your guy on the first three-peat, and Mr. BJ Armstrong. He was a very, very good player. Kind of Steve Kerr, John Paxson, like runs around, gets the ball, shoots a three. He actually did pretty good there. And then
I mean, he had a couple seasons where he was in double figure scoring, I think, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, it was 4 years in a row, which is pretty good. His all-star year, he averaged 14.8 points a game.
Man.
82. Man. Yeah. What was his, like, I'm looking at 3-point percentage for 444 from three, which back then nobody really shot threes like they do now. So that's actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
Played a lot of minutes, 33.8.
It was an important part of their team.
What do you got?
All right, so we're doing I like how we're doing this of archetypes of players that played with Jordan. I think it's a good way to categorize them. Because you're right, they did sort of every one of them sort of fit the same mold as they were going. Because they knew, especially running the triangle offense and with Jordan and Pippen, they knew the type of players they needed to surround them. So let's go with the power forwards. Let's go with it started out with the first one I can think of, obviously, is Charles Oakley.
Yes. Love me some Oak.
Yeah, the Oak man himself. What a tough guy, right? Even to this day, I would not mess with Charles Oakley.
Yeah. I watched him get taken out of MSG, and I was like, can we just like leave him alone? Because I'm actually feared that the security guard might get hurt on this one.
Yes.
Don't kill
like him. If he would have, I remember seeing that too. And if he would have done like pro wrestling, if he would have done like, when they always have like quote unquote security taking out a pro wrestler, and he just mows through them. I was expecting that, with Charles Oakley, because what a man right there, for real. Probably more famously known as a New York Knick.
Yeah.
But he was a mainstay for the Chicago Bulls for a while. He was that guy you need who, especially in the 80s and 90s, you needed a guy who could sort of take on the roughness of the game and sort of quote unquote protect some of your better players on the team. And I'm not knocking him because he was a really good player, but
yeah.
You have all-stars on your team who need to be protected, and they need to know they have somebody who has their back, especially in the 80s and 90s. So that's what Charles Oakley was. You were not going to push around Charles Oakley.
Well, are we going to do what JJ Redick said, though, and just say that it wasn't as physical back then?
Yeah. Man, JJ, man, dude, he's so, once in a while he'll say something like, yeah, and then he'll say that, and I'm like, oh, yeah, he went to Duke. But
Should have went to North Carolina, buddy.
Yeah, you would have maybe learned about basketball.
From what I understand, Jordan was pretty upset when
He
Oakley.
was. Him and Oakley were friends, and he knew. And this was also at the time too, where he was, he was coming up in a league, and they could just knock you on your butt when you're driving the lane. And if you're Michael Jordan, you're going to need somebody to kind of help you out there, and that's what Oakley was.
So if we're
So I'd
going
be mad too, man. I'd be mad too.
let's talk about the reason why Oakley was traded, and that was because this young guy, probably one of my favorite underrated players of all time, Mr. Horace Grant, was starting.
Thank you. Yes, iconic goggles for me.
I think this guy is probably the most, since we're not talking about Pippen and Rodman, even though I just said their names, because they made the 75th anniversary list.
Yeah.
I think this guy is probably, I'm just going to go out there and say it. This guy is probably the best player Michael Jordan's ever played with from those two, and what meant to that Bulls team.
Yes. Hard-nosed player, great rebounder, incredible fashion sense with the goggles.
Yes.
I mean, I've been old school with basketball, even in video games, and to the point where I was very excited to get the first two EA Sports basketball games, which are Bulls versus Lakers and Celtics versus Lakers. I believe those were the two, something like that. It was a team versus another team both times
because they had no idea what else to do.
And I was and I didn't have all the teams in the league, by the way. I only had like 10 teams that you could play as, those original ones. But anyway, it had the actual players on there though. And that's why it was really cool. And I loved seeing Horace Grant because his character on there would have his goggles.
I needed goggles because I was gonna wrestle. So I needed goggles because I wear glasses and I would like to see. And I made sure that I try to get the closest thing because at this time he was with the Magic.
Yeah, so he had his blue ones.
I made sure I got it closest to that Magic like blue on the side.
Yeah.
I wanted to look like Horace Grant
Because he rules.
He is.
So cool.
I honestly think that he is like my favorite, and I'm gonna talk highly of him because he's like my favorite Chicago Bull Magic, and he was just that maybe like Andre Iguodala guy.
Yeah,
That glue guy.
Glue. Yeah.
Yeah, that he wins those championships with the Bulls, then he goes to the Magic, gets them to the finals, and what else would have happened with the Magic? That would be fun to explore as well.
Yeah.
If Penny doesn't get hurt, Shaq stays. What could they have done? I mean, is he a guy that's going to ever take over a game? I don't think so. But
I think he can have moments in a game.
He can have moments to get you to that point. Solid defender.
I guarantee you too, if there's a rebound that needs to be had, he's going after it.
Yeah. I didn't know his nicknames were the General and the Enforcer.
I've heard the General before. I've never heard the Enforcer, but I bet you a lot of players have been given that nickname, the Enforcer.
A long career, only one-time All-Star.
Wow. Same as Jamal McGlure. Yeah.
I would not even put them on the same list.
Well, I'm sorry, but they are.
If we are tiering, I would even put Jamal McGlure anywhere near Horace Grant.
I don't know what you're talking about.
They're
both all-stars, Andrew. They're both all-stars.
If they're in the lunchroom, they are sitting at separate tables.
But they're in the all-star cafeteria.
Just because you're in there doesn't mean that you kind of belong. I could go walk into the billionaire or luxury section of an airport, but doesn't mean I kind of belong there.
I don't know what you mean. They're both all-stars. That's what's important here. On their resume, you look at their resume. Guess what? They both say all-star.
Oh.
But yeah, let's talk about our favorite one. Maybe I'm putting words in your mouth. My favorite category. I don't know why I love this, but the centers who played along with Michael Jordan.
I think what makes this so great is we talked about it is when Michael Jordan was winning these championships, and I don't want, if anybody messages us, I'm not getting into this conversation, but I'm just stating something. When Michael Jordan was winning his championship, this was still kind of the era of the center.
It was the big man's game.
You needed that dominating center. I mean, there's so many good ones in the 90s.
I mean, literally in Michael Jordan's draft class, he wasn't number one. And you know why? Because there's a certain future Hall of Famer center who went number one instead.
The Dream, man. And the Dream was great. David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Shaq was around in that time. Morning. There's so many.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had really just kind of retired.
Yes. Robert Parrish, geez, he hung on forever. Matter of fact, I'm just gonna give him a special shout out. He was a Jordan teammate, but
Yes.
it was old Big Chief.
I think a lot of people forget, like, after the Celtics, Robert Parrish was on like 40 teams. He played a long time. I don't think people realize that. He played forever. He was a Hornet too at one point.
Yeah, I think he was like played that Tree Rollins role that the
Yeah.
Magic had, where it was
Oh,
like,
man,
hey,
that's the name I haven't heard in a long time.
can you play for like 5 minutes while Shaq sits out?
Yeah.
We'll put Shaq right back in. We just need 5 minutes out of you.
Yeah. He was no Jamal McGlure, but he tried.
But yeah, the centers were great. He only played for 4 teams. I thought it was more.
Well, I really want to talk about
Who you
Luke
got?
Longley. Who's your favorite Bull center? Mine's Luke Longley. I love Luke.
I don't know if it's him or Will Purdue.
Well, I don't even think they're sitting in the same table in that cafeteria. Will Purdue is fine. I have nothing against him. I had a bunch of his basketball cards growing up, but I was such a Luke Longley fan. I mean, the dude had a great sense of humor, which really clashed with Michael Jordan, who I don't think knew what a joke was unless he was putting you down somehow with it. And Australian on top of that, had everything going for him.
He left a awesome, crappy situation.
Yeah, I think I brought it up on here before, but there's a really great documentary about Luke Longley that came out after The Last Dance, because if you notice in The Last Dance, he's not in it very much. Very little, actually. So this documentary is really great because they actually interviewed Michael Jordan and stuff for it, and it's very good.
Luke Longley is up there. I don't know. I kind of like Will Purdue in a way.
I do too. I mean, I got a soft spot for all those guys. Bill Winnington, I got a soft spot for. Stacey King, I got a soft spot for. It's just Bill Cartwright, of course, who was very famously in a lot of those Bulls games I was talking about. Played his video games.
I remember getting NBA 93. That was like our first basketball game we ever owned. And the reason why we wanted it was because of Shaq.
As his rookie year.
And once again, big man's game. You want one of these stars, big guys, and you're like, who's Bill Cartwright? And what does he do? So that's kind of why Bill Cartwright always stands out into me. It stands out in my mind because he just doesn't really, I don't know, didn't really mix back then. Scott Williams, why does that name sound familiar as a center?
Oh, I was thinking that too. Any one of the later ones? I think he was one in the later years, if I'm thinking correctly.
Oh, because I think he played on he played on that Bucks team.
Yes.
The sixth. Okay, that's why he's a North Carolina guy too. There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
He played for the Bucks and the Sixers. That's why I remember. I don't remember him much as a Bull.
Now let's talk about another player archetype that played with Michael Jordan, and that's the probably the most famous type of a Tony Kukoc of this. Kind of your small forward who could shoot very well. He had that's why they were smart. Michael Jordan surrounded himself with some really good shooters.
Yeah, and they ate him up alive.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard some of his nicknames?
Tony Kukoc. Now, Tony Kukoc, before he became a Bull, really was a very good European player.
Yes. I think this is about the time where they started tapping into Europe, where you could get more of the former Soviet Union players over without having to.
Yeah, because Tony's from
a lot of hotels.
He's from Croatia, right? Is that right? Yeah.
Where you like that? That's another fun topic we should look at. I don't know if you've ever seen that. All the Russian players trying to defect.
Oh yeah.
In the 80s for the NHL and stuff.
I mean, Sabonis was technically drafted like a decade before he even got to come over.
But he is known as the Croatian sensation, the waiter. Euro Magic, I remember from the Dream Team one.
Yes.
The Pink Panther, the Spider of Split, and Special K.
I don't like most of those. Most of those are dumb, but those first few are pretty great.
I like the Croatian sensation.
I like that one the most. But yeah, he's probably most famously known for the fact that, for whatever reason that I'll never understand, when his team was going up against the Dream Team, Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen were like, this is before they knew he was going to be their teammate. So they're like, well, we're going to destroy this guy, make him look awful. Like on purpose, like it was their mission.
Well, wasn't it because it was Jerry Reinsdorf guy or not?
Yeah, it had nothing to do with Tony. Never said anything.
So who is that guy that they like?
The guy who put the team together. What is his name? The little short guy.
Jordan hated him too. They said that he used to like harass him. Damn it.
Yeah, he's I think he's passed away, but
No longer with us. All right.
yeah, a short guy, but he was very famous to put that team together. But yeah, he was very high on Tony Kukoc, and I guess that just really annoyed Pippen and Jordan, and they're like, "Well, we're going to make a statement here."
Jerry Krause.
That's it. Yes. Yeah.
Ryan
Yeah.
Thorpe owned the team.
Correct. Yes. There you go. Yeah. So poor Tony Kukoc, who I think is an underrated player too. Honestly,
Yeah.
he was for a little bit though. He was actually quite good.
I think it's one of those things, depending on who you talk to. It's probably 1 and 2.
Yeah, I mean he's also the one in that one very famous game where Scottie Pippen refused to go back in at the last bit there because the play wasn't called for him. It was called for Tony. And what people forget about is actually Tony did hit that shot to win the game. But all anybody talks about is the fact that Scottie kind of. I like Scottie a lot. I think he's obviously I think very highly of him, but he really did pout there.
Yeah.
Didn't look good. Not a good look.
Do you know who's played the least amount of games with Michael Jordan?
Oh, this is a good question. Oh man. Is this still in the Bulls or just when he was a Wizard? Or we're not counting Wizard?
Shockingly, I thought it was with the Wizards, but it's a Bull
Hmm.
in the 80s.
Hmm.
Had a
Artist Gilmore. I don't have any idea.
Darren Day
I never would have got that.
played one game with Michael Jordan. Well, he was
man.
drafted in the 3rd round in 1983, which he played. Oh, he played. So he played one game in 86, 87 with the Bulls, and then he got traded. It looks like, I don't know if he got traded or cut. And then he played the rest of the games with the Celtics that year.
I want to talk about another player that I always liked, and he actually was in the documentary The Last Dance a little bit more than I thought he would be. But I just always liked this guy, Scott Burrell.
Yeah, that's an interesting name.
Yeah, I always liked him. And he was one of those for me that I felt had so much potential. He didn't live up to it, to be fair, but I just liked him. I always did. I was a big Burrell fan.
Oh, he played 101 games with Jordan.
Yeah. Jordan sort of, if you watch the documentary, kind of takes him under his wing a little bit.
Yeah, he's young. Oh, he was a Hornet too. Go figure, Johnny.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about.
He only played 1 year with the Bulls.
Yes, I'm not wild. He didn't play with them very long.
Yeah, it was 1 year, 80 games, averaged 5 point. Oh, geez, who would get on the floor in that last year? But averaged 5.2 points per game. Yeah, I thought he played longer.
There's a lot of those things like that. Like if you would ask me how many seasons did he play with Jordan, I would have said at least 2, just guessing, right?
I was thinking, yeah, 2 or 3 the way that they talked about him. And I understand The Last Dance was more centered around the last year of that Bulls team before obviously at some point it's got to get dismantled. That's kind of a shock.
Yeah, pretty wild. But I think there's some other players on here that we won't really get to talk about very much. But this list is really incredible. If you go to basketballreference.com, you can actually look up Michael Jordan's teammates. I mean, I already said Ron Harper, but like Dave Corzine is I remember his basketball cards. Judd Bushler, the volleyball player.
Oh, he played early in Michael Jordan's. Okay.
Yeah, Randy Brown is the name I remember.
Randy Brown, Dickie Simpkins, just because of like Johnny was with BJ Armstrong, I was immature.
Yeah, Sam Vincent I remember as well.
Jason Caffey.
Oh man, I forgot. I think this had to be when he was a Wizard. Kwame Brown played with him. I forgot all about that.
I think we get into a lot of Wizard here. So Kwame Brown, oddly enough, has played more games with Michael Jordan than Scottie Burrell.
That's so weird.
Orlando Woodridge.
Woodridge. Yeah, that's a name I remember for sure. Oh man, Sedell Threat. There's some great names here.
There's just, I wonder if we're like.
And this also had to be when he was a Wizard. Jerry Stackhouse played with them. Again, another Carolina guy. So it's probably why he's standing out to me. But I was a big Stackhouse fan.
I think he was like, yeah, we need that guy.
Well, Stackhouse was one of those players who got dubbed the next Jordan label that sadly really hurts a lot of players because there's only going to be one. And you're going to be compared to that as a really tough thing to deal with your whole career, no matter how good you are.
John Sally played.
Yeah, well, the great John Sally, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot Rip. Rip Hamilton played with Jordan. Who else we got here? Craig Hodges, the great 3-point competition. You know where to find him, as Larry Bird stated at the end of the bench. Brad Sellers. Is he on those Bulls? Oh, he was in the, okay, because I remember Brad Brad Sellers, like it kind of like going through a card and you're like, oh, who'd you get? I got Brad Sellers. Oh, we're gonna like throw that away, some boy.
All right, so Boston Dele, I'd forgotten that he
I
actually
bet.
did play with Jordan a little bit. Do you know about him?
Yeah, he was unfortunately, I believe, shot by his brother.
Uh, Close.
He was a
He,
young center.
yeah, he was tragically murdered by his brother. But it was on a boat, like they were out in the ocean, and so like I think it was him, his girlfriend or wife, and his brother were out on the ocean, and his brother was there's a really good documentary on this. I can't remember the name of it, but his brother was a bit iffy of a person, I guess would be the best way to put it. But he's
Okay.
your brother, so you're always going to try to help him. But they were on a boat out in the ocean, and only the brother came back.
Yeah, that's a little.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was. I remember he started coming on in Denver. He was pretty decent in Denver, and then when he made it to those Detroit teams, and they were
And he
just
had a really good year that one year in Detroit. I remember he's on the up and up. He was also one too, I think, dealt with some injuries.
yeah. It doesn't look like he played two. Like one year was only 9 games
Yeah.
in Chicago. In Chicago, he only played 9 games, or he only got into 9 games. But I don't understand why you want to get into more games if the season prior you averaged 15 points a game, especially at center.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but yeah, this it's an interesting list. I mean, even
I
some like JoJo English is on this list.
I didn't even know which.
I mean, George, the Iceman, George Gervin's on this
I was
list.
gonna say how many. 20 games with Jordan. Okay, somebody tried to say I have a very love-hate relationship with Facebook when it comes to sports fans. Is somebody tried to point out that the Bulls had a super team back then when they had George Gervin, Michael Jordan, and Charles Oakley. And needless to say, this guy got destroyed because they were like, that's not even George Gervin in his prime.
Yeah, toward his end of his career. That's the same time. That's the same argument I've heard when there was that one Rockets team that literally had, Akeem and Clyde Drexler and one of my all time favorites, Charles Barkley, on it. But like
They're done.
Barkley was already on the downside of his career for sure. Clyde was as well. It was man, it was not the same. To me, a super team is one where all your players who are quote unquote the all stars there are in their primes.
Yes.
That's a super team. That one Warriors team was a super team. But my argument for that would be I'm talking before they get Kevin Durant, when they were still winning championships, they built that super team.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't one that they really traded for. They drafted well, and that's why I had a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for that team. Well, also, I'm just a Curry fan, if I'm being honest with. I I hold no ill will towards any player in today's game who feels the need to quote unquote get better help. And that's just because if you're a great player, you are 1,000,000% judged by championships. Nothing else really matters. And even then, there can be asterisks put on those championships, right? Like that last Lakers championship, which was in the bubble. A lot of people put an asterisk on that. But here's the truth that a lot of people don't want to talk about when it comes to any championship in any of the sports, really. It's very hard to win. There's a lot of work involved to win, and a lot of luck involved to win any of those. It's just, and the game's just different now. But yeah, when you want to call something, we just want to throw that term around, super team, a lot. Like the Phoenix Suns now, because they just traded for Kevin Durant. They have Kevin Durant, they have Booker, and they have Chris Paul, which on paper, you just hear those three names, like, oh, wow, that should be a good team. But Chris Paul, who I love, he's a North Carolina. He didn't go to North Carolina, but he's from North Carolina. He went to Wake Forest. But who I really like, I like him a lot. He's on a downside of his career.
Yeah.
Right. He's nowhere near the player he was. So to call that a super team, I think is a bit of a stretch. I think it'll be a good team, but yeah, we throw that term around too easily, I think, Andrew.
Hubert Davis. I don't know if he was ever at it.
Carolina guy.
I just remember Hubert Davis, North Carolina legend.
Yeah, man.
He really went for a lot of North Carolina guys. Like when he went to.
Well, Jordan famously, obviously, that's where he went to school, went to college, and he he would wear the shorts underneath his bull shorts very famously, the Carolina shorts. He's very loyal to North Carolina, to UNC.
Do you want to do a little draft game.
Oh, what are we doing? I like this. Are we drafting Jordan teammates?
Starting 5.
Okay.
Jordan teammates. Obviously, Pippen and Rodman cannot pick them. But when you pick the guy exactly the way they are, you get that player. So it's not like overall of the career.
It's for when they played with him.
It's for when they played with Jordan.
Got you. Understood.
I will give you, and we'll just alternate pick, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
You get first pick there.
I'm going to go. Oh man, I know who I want to take, but I want you to have this pick.
No, you just pick. We're gonna be.
No, I want you to have this pick.
Can we be mean to each other for?
I don't know. Andrew, I hate to tell you, but I consider you a very close friend.
I know, but we gotta.
Oh man! All right.
I want Horse you to Grant. Have the guy that you.
Horse Grant. I want Horse Grant.
Okay. See, I knew you were gonna just pick him.
Horse Grant. I'm taking Horse Grant.
Jeez. I'm gonna go with the Croatian sensation.
Ah, dang it. Okay, so Tony Kukoc is off the board.
Every time we do these NBA drafts, I never get enough shooting, I feel so.
All right, well, I'm going to go with Luke Longley as my next one. So I got my front court all solidified here.
That's a really good one. Going by what we can do with Jordan teammate. I think I'm going to go with, at the point, BJ Armstrong.
Nice. I'm going to go with my shooting guard. I want to go with Ron Harper. Underrated player, could score, but really good defensive player too.
I always used to get him mixed up with Derek Harper of the Knicks.
Yeah.
Their hand check himself.
Yes. All right, who you getting?
Jeez, I'm going Charles Oakley. I need that.
Yeah, good pick.
Because if we say we like play each other, I need to counter your Horace Grant.
Yeah, I got you. All right, so I'm between two for my point guard here. Who did you pick for your point guard? I already forgot.
BJ Armstrong.
Okay. Oh man, I got to go with my heart and go Steve Kerr.
I almost went with him, but what do I need? A center? I'm gonna go Will Perdue.
All right, so I guess all I have left is a small forward, right?
Yes.
Oh man, I don't know. Oh good gosh.
Watch it. Scottie Burrell.
You know what? Yeah, I'm doing it. Scott Burrell. Yep, I'm doing it. Yep. This is just a Johnny Fun team, is what this is.
Shooting guard. Oh man, who do I want? I'm going with a lot of Bulls guys. Should I switch it up or no?
If you're smart, you go Jerry Stackhouse.
That's what I was looking at. I think I'm just gonna go that route. Thank you for giving me the okay on that one.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's our lone Wizards guy that was just solid with the Wizards.
I think he might be our one problem on who to stop on your team. Because Stackhouse was in his prime was quite good.
Yeah.
So who's our teams? Who's yours and who's mine? Who do we get?
Okay, so Johnny, you're starting 5. All right, at center, the Thunder from Down Under. I don't know if that's really his nickname, but he's Australian, so
yeah.
Luke Longley at power forward, the general Horace Grant at small forward, Scottie Burrell, shooting guard Ron Harper, point guard Steve Kerr.
All right, what about you?
Me at center, I got Will Perdue, power forward Charles Oakley, small forward Tony Kukoc, and shooting guard Jerry Stackhouse, and at point guard BJ Armstrong.
I'll tell you what, I think your team may have better scoring than mine because you got 2 players there in Kukoc and Stackhouse who can score pretty good.
Yeah, but your defense is going to be there.
Yeah, so I think we have some drag out fights here for these 2 teams.
I think it's going to come down to shooting because that lane is going to be closed.
Oh yeah, there's no driving in either of our lanes.
No, our lanes are closed, so it's going to come down to shooting. So I'm hoping Tony can pull this out.
Yeah. So who do you think, if you're listening, whose team do you think would win?
Yeah,
put it out there. Whose team do you think would win? I think it'd be pretty close.
I think it would too. But I think that is it for this Jordan supporting cast, showing that played with some decent players, but outside of Rodman and Pippen, there wasn't too much to go with it.
Yeah, he wasn't fortunate enough to play with a Jamal Magloire, for example.
Jamal Magloire, the Jake Delhomme of the NBA.
Yeah, legend. That's what you're talking about.
I think I'm going to put up a Jamal Magloire appreciation post just to see what people will say.
My guess would be who? We were my first guess, but me being a Charlotte Hornets fan, I obviously know who Jamal Magloire is.
I would definitely like to see the response on Jamal Magloire appreciation post.
The Hornets have a history of players like that. Remember Al Jefferson?
Yes.
He's probably one of the last great inside players before everything went perimeter in the NBA.
I remember him because he was the centerpiece for the Celtics to get Kevin Garnett. So thank you, Al
Oh,
Jefferson.
that's true. Yeah.
Thank you, Al Jefferson, for not properly developing and getting us Kevin Garnett and a champion.
Hey man, he was solid for us. I ain't gonna be mad. He played pretty well. But yeah, so we've done it, Andrew. That's the supporting cast for Michael Jordan, the unheralded ones.
Yes.
I like to say.
Some of our favorites. And then our draft as well.
And it takes a very obviously Jordan was a special person, but I think it also takes a special person to be able to coexist with that special person. You know what I mean? Like he's so obviously competitive, and that's how he's driven. That I mean, I've played a lot of pickup basketball in my life, Andrew, and there were certain guys when they would show up to the gym, I would be like, ugh. And it's purely because it was all so real to them that they were really annoying about it. And I think it's how Jordan be like that, but to like an upteenth level, right? We literally had this one guy who would show up at the Valdez Rec Center. That's how cool I am. And he was shorter than me, but he thought he was the greatest thing. And I hated being picked on his team because just how I was very decent. I'm not going to sit here and say I was good, but I was very decent, and I was better than him. And I got so annoyed with him one game that even when I was dead open, and I was a really good shooter, I would pass him the ball back just out of sheer principle because he annoyed me so much.
See, one of those guys like ball,
yes,
ball.
Yeah, yes, constantly,
even though he's not open.
Yeah, and he was also kind of short too, and an older guy. But man, those people stand out with how they are.
So he was like a short Jackie Moon, where he's like, "Hey, give me the ball." No, I'm not feeling it.
No, at least Jackie Moon would be fun and entertaining. This guy was none of those things.
Give me the ball. No. Okay, I'm not feeling it. But I know. And
he got so mad at me one time because I was open for like ever. And I even held the ball on purpose, just standing there beyond the 3-point line. I could honestly easily, this is me completely tooting my own horn. I had range up between, not like Steph Curry range. I'm not going to sit there and say that, but like between the 3-point line and the half court line, I could shoot from there pretty comfortably. And I was open for so long, and I just kept looking at the ball, looking at him, and looking at the ball, looking at him. And I did it like 3 or 4 times, and I passed him the ball, and he got so bad and cussed me out right there. And it was the funniest thing I ever did. Oh man, what he didn't realize was how. And then I just started laughing at him, and he was even more mad. I never got punched though. Did you ever get in a fight? I got in one fight because of sports.
No, but close to it, I would have to say, because I was afraid of going home if I did get into a fight. That's what was going to happen. Plus, I wore glasses.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so much getting hit. It was if my glasses broke and had to go to my mom and tell her that my glasses broke for fighting, and then it would be a different story.
Yeah.
That was, but there's been some pushing and shoving. I think maybe once I was going to throw a punch, but other than that, I mean, people would get underneath my skin with certain things.
Yeah. I still am, so I'm not going to act like I was, but when I played a lot, I was a big guy. And so I played a lot in the post quite a bit. And when I was playing this one guy who would always play with us after school, and when I was in high school, he would always foul me. Like, those people who like just punch and grab you like crazy.
Yeah.
And I got so tired of it because he would also talk junk, and and if you're good, I would tell you you're good. He wasn't good. Like, it's how he had to be, right? To do his little things. And he would just like take little shots and stuff. But the one time I ever got in a fight was when he was actually on my team. And I got so tired of him, and I just lost my cool. And I actually pushed him against the basketball pole and just screamed at him. And I pushed him really hard. And actually, the next day, I felt so bad that I apologized to him because that's just not me. I just feel so awful about it.
I can't imagine you doing that.
I lost sleep over it. I felt so bad about it.
Your first pick because I didn't want to see that time.
I'm going to lose sleep over taking your horse, Grant. I feel really bad about it.
I'm going to probably feel bad because I took Tony Kukoc. We should have just let it go. I should have just taken.
Well, I'm more upset you took Jerry Stackhouse and that I didn't think about him until it was your turn. But that's on me. That's my fault. Yeah, we've done it. We appreciate all you who listen. This is a very fun show for us. We get to talk about old sports stuff. So
yes. So check us out, BICBP Radio Network, Apple Podcast, Spotify, pretty much wherever you get your podcasts now. And just enjoy us. Go follow us on Facebook. Like I said, try and do some appreciation posts. Throw one up with Jamal McGlure and see who appreciate Jamal McGlure out there. I know Johnny does, but hey, who doesn't want to be like Mike?